Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by BKCW. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every morning by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. They are live at the Texas Exes Golf Tournament this morning. Been out there for a while, guys. First, how's it going out there?
It's going great right now, Blake. I tell you what, there's going to be 250 some odd golfers here today at Firewheel Park in Garland, Texas for the annual Get Teed Off golf tournament. Get Teed Off, by the way, at OU is the official title. So we're excited out here. A lot of Longhorns getting ready, putting the clubs on the golf carts. I think there's 100 golf carts out there.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much money is going to be made off of mulligans today. Like astronomical mulligans.
Probably will be. Obviously, this is a big day of festivities for a lot of Longhorns in Dallas. Oh, that's very smart.
I forgot.
How could you forget, Jerry?
Well, I had a lot going on. Neil Tweety's about to join us, a member of a 2002 number one ranked recruiting class, national champion. It's been a big day.
Yeah.
But Texas is still ranked number one. The polls didn't change.
There you go. Well, hey, by the way, guys, tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in. In case you haven't noticed, it's going to be an action-packed show. We're also going to be joined by Ryan Aber of the Oklahoman here in just a little bit, talking the Texas OU game tomorrow from the Oklahoma side of things. So that'll be about 8:30. But let's just jump right into it. New availability report, guys. Some things have changed here, especially on the Oklahoma side. Quinn Ewers no longer on the list as well. But y'all's takeaways, please.
Well, you knew Quinn was going to come off the list. Sark was going to have some coaching games going on with the injury report, as did Brent Venables listing Deion Burks as questionable when you knew he was going to be out. He was listed as questionable last year, and last week against Auburn. Then he was out. So you knew he was going to be out. That was already news had already been broken by people that cover Oklahoma. And then it was officially yesterday. So OU wide receiver core beat up, really injured. Gentry Williams, Bobby continues. That's a big loss for them at corner. Best corner Oklahoma has. Dolby was the cheetah. So they've had some major losses. Texas has an advantage health-wise, better football team. Now it comes down to playing the football game.
Jerry, we also last night the Longhorns added a piece to the commitment puzzle. Texas adding Dalen McCutcheon out of Lovejoy. In case you just are joining us and are unaware of that this morning, Texas added its 21st commitment of the recruiting campaign. Young man out of Lovejoy here, not 30 minutes from where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, Dalen McCutcheon, tremendous ball skills, another 50-50 ball winner, turns it into 75-25. Reminds me a little bit of DeAndre Moore because he's such a smooth wide receiver. Just he's deceptive with his speed because he's really smooth, really strong route runner. Plays for Todd Dodge now at Lovejoy after the coaching change there. Really good hands. Good has plus wingspan for his height. So he plays longer than his height is listed. But he's a really good fit. He's a guy Chris Jackson has had targeted for a while here in this Texas class, and they flipped him from Florida State. He took a visit down to A&M before Texas because he was at the Texas-Mississippi State game. Didn't really get the feel from A&M. It's always been Texas with the best chance to flip him from FSU. And I think the crazy thing is that DeAndre Moore role in the Texas offense is kind of what Texas sold McCutcheon on. And I think that kind of perplexed FSU because they were trying to sell him on being a number one. And he still said, I'll pass on the DJ Ugalele, whoever quarterback experience is at FSU, which it won't be. I'm joking around.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk more about Dalen McCutcheon. We have a special guest for us right now. That is Neil Tweety. How you doing, Neil?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I tell you what, when I first met you, you didn't have facial hair. That was my first thing. I think you were a sophomore in high school over at Allen. You became a member of the 2002 Texas recruiting class, I believe it was.
Right.
Number one
ranked recruiting class. You and I were talking about this beforehand, and you said, hey, it feels like we're getting back in that kind of territory where the mojo is happening a little bit.
Yeah.
You think that is still the
yeah.
case?
Oh yeah, it's been several strong years, man. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited about the future for Texas football for sure.
Tell people what you're doing nowadays. We always like to former Longhorns come on. We like to talk to you. You were a GA with Will Muschamp and Dwayne Aquina back in 2009, 2010. Did a little coaching, but now you're in private business. What are you up to, and where you living? How many kids you got? Wife? Whatever.
Yeah, so I live in the Metroplex, the DFW Metroplex up on the Fort Worth side. Super grateful for my experience at Texas. You know, got to coach obviously the phenomenal time under Will Muschamp and Aquina and obviously Mac Brown. And spent 10 years coaching all over the state. High school, I was in Houston for a year. I was in Denton for a year. I spent several years at Trophy Club. But I had a great time coaching football. Like high school football in Texas is obviously its own animal. But after that, since then, I've been working for an alcohol wholesaler called Republic National. So Dolce Vita, we actually represent Dolce
Oh,
Vita,
nice, nice.
So anyways, it's been great. So glad to spend some time with some Orange Bloods.
Well, we're glad that you're here. I mean, over 200 and something golfers here at Garland's Fire Creek Golf Club. Hey, I had a question for you. Your history with OU, you lost a big one. It was ugly, but then you guys kind of what's the right word? Vindicated yourself or avenged that loss. Won a couple in a row. What are your best memories of Texas OU?
Oh man, the environment is just obviously we all know it's you pull into the stadium, you got OU fans throwing beer cans at the buses, and like it's just everything. Your head to toe is ready to play, right? Ready to step on the field. Like you just want to show up and give everything you got. It's just that environment primes you for the best performance you can possibly have. I've never been around anything like it since.
It's like a peak performance. It's just everything's on pins and needles every play.
Yeah.
Okay, as a former offensive lineman, played tight end, talk about the physicality of this game. Because the physicality of this game is even a little different on the line of scrimmage.
Oh, I would agree. And and just the war of attrition, right? Like if you're especially it's going to be hot today, or it's going to be hot this weekend. Historically it's been earlier in the year, or at least I always played when it was 11. But
yeah.
But man, by the end of it, it's like that turf is smoking hot. The play, it's steamy. But man, it's just it's the conditioning level. Like if you put in the work beforehand, you're going to be okay. And OU always in the past has had huge athletic, physical defensive linemen. And it gets ugly in the trenches. It's not easy.
Go ahead.
How often do you put on the national championship ring? And where is it currently?
I keep it in the safe in the house.
Okay.
It doesn't come out much.
But you're one of very few that have that played at Texas.
Very true.
Hey, I will say this. You talk about it being so tiresome and 100 degrees down on the field, all that stuff. You win the golden hat, though, you get to celebrate.
Yeah,
nobody ever loses sleep over celebrating after.
No, you're just fine afterwards. We'll be okay afterwards. It's the heat on the field that gets you.
We tell folks about what you're doing out here, sponsoring the Texas X's for your company and whatnot. Let them know what all goes into that.
Oh man, it's an awesome event. Everything is organized in the scholarships and the contribution that this group is making. It's a phenomenal investment in our community, and I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, they do a great job with scholarships to students that need them for the University of Texas. Neil, thank you so much, buddy.
I had one more.
Oh, go for it. Yeah, go for it, Jay.
No, this is a very important question. You're an Allen High graduate, correct? Do you claim Kyler Murray? Can you at this point?
Can you what?
Claim Tyler Murray as an Allen graduate?
I
had to put him on the spot.
That's a hard.
Let's throw this helmet away.
Man, he's something special, but he just made some poor choices both times.
Yeah, twice. He made two poor choices.
Poor choices.
Yeah, A&M and then OU. Neil, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Best of luck, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good luck, man. Take care of yourself. Neil Tweety, good stuff there, guys. Always enjoy talking to former Longhorns here. And, Jerry, again, successful guy after college, goes out and does his thing, raises a family. Good stuff. We appreciate him joining us this morning as well. We'll have Doug Rice on from the Texas Exits a little bit later. Blake, you said you've got the guy from the Oklahoman coming on. I'm ready to talk to him, see what he thinks of this game. I was texting with a former player at the University of Texas late last night, Lance Taylor. A lot of people will remember him from the late 70s, early 80s. And I was asking Lance, he lives up in Tulsa. I was saying, what are the guys up in Tulsa thinking right now about this game? And he's like, well, a lot of them think that a lot of the new guys think they have no chance, but all the old guys know that throw the records out when this game comes along. And so they're clinging on to some hope, but we'll see how it goes and talk to him a little bit later as well.
What's our line looking like, Blake?
Blake, you're muted, buddy.
My apologies. It's been a while since I've done that. So not much movement. Yesterday it was at 14.5. It opened at 14.5. We've seen a little movement, half a point here and there throughout the week, but back to where it started. ESPN Analytics, of course, with the 85.1% chance for the Horns to win and their matchup predictor and an over-under of 48.5.
I'm sticking with my 37-20. Oklahoma scores a late one, whether it's a field goal or touchdown. Well, I think if Texas plays a clean game, relatively clean game, offensive line shows up. Look, there's motivation on both sides. In a way, Oklahoma's playing for their season tomorrow, which makes the team dangerous. But I think Texas is just a better football team. They're a healthier football team. And as long as they play a B+ to A- game, they don't have to play the Michigan level game. If they play B+, A-, they should be okay tomorrow.
Man, I just disagree.
I know he does.
This is a game that takes you know what? It could be a C+ game. It is and this is what Neil was talking about. You could win with a C+ or C- game if you make the other team play a D or an F. That's one of these things. It's not about, it's a war of attrition. As long as you're better than the other team, you're fine. But both teams are going to make mistakes. This is one thing I know. Both teams are going to make mistakes. The momentum's going to go back and forth. Adversity will happen, but that doesn't mean Texas won't be the better team at the end of the day. You just got to, I'm not into this. I'm just not into it.
I know you are.
This is a different game than every other game on the schedule. And almost every year is one of those where you just got to be better than the guy in front of you. And it doesn't matter if it's an A performance or a D, as long as you're not failing. And, that's pretty much it. A loss is a fail.
The difference this year, Oklahoma has to play an A to A+ game.
I agree with that. They have to play at a higher level. Probably.
Yeah.
But, they've done it before. And we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it. A lot of football tomorrow. It's a big weekend, by the way, across college football. Ohio State goes to Oregon. Every single SEC game has a ranked opponent in it tomorrow. I don't know if y'all know that or not. And then I look at the recruiting rankings across the various services. Texas moves into the top 5 or number 6 or whatever they are with the Dalen McCutcheon commitment.
Yeah.
You know that only moved Texas up to number 4 or 5 in the SEC, even though they're in the top 5 in the country. That's how difficult the SEC is right now.
And so what's going on in recruiting, because we didn't get a chance to talk about it, with McCutcheon in the boat, didn't really move Texas recruiting ranking. They're 5 or 6, depending on where you look. But if Texas closes on Michael Terry and Javion Hilson, then they jump to 3. And then it's whatever else you add to that class. So I think the ceiling of this class is number 2. That's what's out there for Texas right now from a recruiting perspective. There's some big news also in recruiting. Justice Terry, the 5-star defensive lineman from Manchester, Georgia, which is southwest from Oklahoma on the way to Columbus. He was a one-time USC commitment, but they weren't going to ever get him at the end of the day. It's Georgia, it's Alabama, it's Miami. He's coming in for the Texas-Georgia game. Kenny Baker's been quietly recruiting him for a while, getting him on campus. Texas also in contact with Elijah Griffin, the number one defensive lineman in America out of the Savannah area, works out at the same facility of Walter Mathis. I'm not saying Texas are going to get him on campus, but they're trying. He's making his official at Georgia this weekend for the Mississippi State game. But we have the updated visitors list on ontexasfootball.com. There's a big discussion over there about all the recruiting stuff going on. I actually just posted basketball team notes this morning as well. But the updated Georgia-Texas visitors list is there. Over 30 four-star, combined four-star and five-star prospects in the 25, 26, and 27 classes already scheduled to be in Austin next weekend. It's pretty big.
It's as big as you're going to get mid-season.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean, we've seen, and I'll say this, try to say this the right way, Jerry. We've seen preseason games or pre-conference games like LSU in years past, or USC or Notre Dame have really big recruiting weekends. It's somewhat rare to have a marquee game be also a marquee recruiting event mid-season in conference.
Yeah,
Texas hasn't had a lot of those.
No, it takes it reminds you of the old LSU Alabama games when Nick was there, Ed Orgeron at LSU, and they were both ranked really highly, and every kid wanted to come to that game that could get there. That's kind of where Texas and Georgia's at right now. Tyler Atkinson, there's a number of kids from Georgia in 25 and 26 that are scheduled to be in Austin on next Saturday. That's huge for the Longhorns because otherwise it's a little more difficult to get those kids during the season. If you play a Friday night game, you got to get on a plane early Saturday. You got to get to San Antonio or Austin, wherever you're flying into. Traffic's going to be unbelievable with Formula One there as well. Eminem concert, everything going on. Hotels are skyrocketing prices. I'm sure some people have encountered that. But to get this many kids committed to visiting for that game is huge for Texas.
All right, fellas, before we move on, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everybody out there about our sponsor today, BKCW.
Yeah, today's show being brought to you by BKCW Business Insurance. If your business had a frustrating insurance or employee benefits renewal, most likely you didn't hear from your agent all year until the very last minute. When this happens, the agent is providing little to no value, and you're stuck in what we call the insurance trap. BKCW takes you out of the insurance trap by providing you with actual risk management consulting, not just price quoting, operating out of its headquarters in Austin, owned by a UT grad. BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that they can actually help you effectively manage your costs and risks. They have risk consultants that specialize in many different industries, from construction and transportation companies to nonprofits and school districts to restaurant groups as well. So you'll get matched up with someone who knows your risks and can help you escape the insurance trap. Get started with a free risk assessment, completely free, at bkcw.com, or send an email to info@bkcw to get started now. Call them as well, 512-250-5055. We appreciate their sponsorship of Friday morning's Coffee and Football.
Okay, guys, it looks like our special guest is here, so I'm going to bring him into the fold here. Ryan Aber of the Oklahoman. Ryan covers OU, beat writer for them. Ryan, how's it going this morning?
Oh, not bad. Just getting packed up and ready to head south on 35 here in a couple hours.
I was going to say, is the traffic as bad going from Oklahoma City down to Dallas as it is going from Austin up to Dallas? Because it's a bear if you haven't left already for Dallas from Austin.
Yeah, it's. I'm sure it's going to be pretty bad. We're hoping it's not going to be as bad leaving at about 10 o'clock as it will if we left a little bit later in the afternoon. So we'll see how long the trip to Dallas takes. But I'm going to budget, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So where's Oklahoma at heading in this game, in your opinion? All the wide receiver injuries obviously have really handicapped the offense. quarterback change, offensive line struggles. Where's Oklahoma at for you headed into this game?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of optimism with the offense for what they showed under Michael Hawkins Jr. in the fourth quarter against Auburn. We're finally able to stretch the field a little bit, got a little bit better protection from that offensive line, but there's certainly some trepidation entering this one with what Texas brings on defense, with the fact that it doesn't look like Deion Burks is going to be available. The receiver room is still going to be really limited there, and the fact that they haven't been able to run the ball consistently, really outside of the quarterbacks. So I think a lot of this is going to fall on the shoulders of the defense, and just how good this defense is, to have any chance of pulling off the upset. So I think there's, like I said, a little bit of trepidation here entering this one on the OU side, but also a little glimmer of confidence with what the offense showed late against Auburn.
We've talked about it all week, Ryan. This is strength on strength at some level. The OU defense versus the Texas offense. Danny Stutzman and Brent Venables famously wore some shirts last year post that game. There's been a little bit of talk about that. Has there been any stuff that's been talked about up at Oklahoma as additional need for motivation or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, everybody that I've talked to, and by the way, I also wrote about in today's Oklahoman, wrote about Danny Stutzman's pregame speech last year, which included that line that wound up being plastered all over T-shirts. But, I think on the OU side, a lot of the talk is just the fact that they don't need any extra motivation in this game, and anything more than that sort of can distract from the main message. And that's something that Brent Venables has preached all along, and it's something that they've sort of taken to heart. And Danny Stutzman hasn't said nearly as much this year for whatever reason, going into this game, but we'll see what he has to say afterwards. But it's always a fun back and forth this week. Honestly, the closest to anything sort of inflammatory that was said on the OU side, at least, was Trace Ford, who said, one, that he gets fired up to play a team that didn't recruit him, period. And obviously he's played pretty well against Texas when he was at Oklahoma State and now at OU. And then just talking about the fact that Texas hasn't faced a defense like Oklahoma's, which on its face is true. They haven't, although Michigan's is pretty good as well. But, mostly staying away from anything that could even be considered inflammatory.
I got to say this. Stutzman is the modern day Brian Bosworth for the
Texas fan base.
For Texas fan base. I think he's eclipsed Teddy Lehman in that regard, in my opinion. Let me ask you this. Any reticence on the OU side for giving up so many yards a couple of weeks ago to Auburn, a team that is not a great offensive club? OU kind of, I don't want to say bailed out because they made the play, but they got bailed out by a pick six of sorts. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this defense is sort of a boom or bust. When you look at the SEC stat leaders, they're sort of right in the middle of a lot of categories, but they forced turnovers, which we saw against Auburn, made all the difference in the world. And then they get after the quarterback and they rack up the sack numbers. And when you can do those two things, you can make up for some other deficiencies in your defense. I think, with the depth of Texas's wide receiver core, I think there is certainly some concern there with how Auburn was able to exploit things down the field. And, their problems against Tennessee a couple weeks before, or the week before, were sort of just getting beat one-on-one, whereas against Auburn, there were some busts and things that they haven't seen to this point of this year. So, yeah, there's definitely some concern there, which is why I think it's important for Oklahoma to be successful. I think they've got to do those two things. They've got to force turnovers, make Quinn Ewers make quick decisions and make the wrong decisions. And then they've got to get after the quarterback and get into the backfield and be disruptive. If they can do those two things, you can make up for some of the things you lose yardage wise. But there's definitely some concern over not how real is OU's defense, because they're certainly better than they've been in quite a while, but how sustainable it is in the framework of playing Texas and with some of the offenses they'll face moving forward.
Ryan, did you have a final score prediction for this contest?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight one throughout. I think in the end, I think Texas is just going to be a little bit too much for Oklahoma this year. I'm trying to think exactly what I said. I believe it was right along the lines of 27-20 Texas over Oklahoma. I think it's going to be a contest in the fourth quarter, but I think the Longhorns in the end are going to make the plays to come out ahead.
Well, we certainly hope on this end you're right. Just for the record, I think that's fair. Ryan, thank you so much for your time. Safe travels down to Dallas. I hope to see you tomorrow, buddy.
Sounds great. Appreciate y'all. Have a great one.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, guys. Brian Aber of the Oklahoman. Want to thank him once again for joining us. Always good insight there to get from the other team's perspective. And some other perspectives that people have on some super chats, guys. I want to go ahead and jump right over to those. This one first here from Jamie. Thank you, Jamie. He says, OU still sucks all the way from Kitty, Texas.
Hook 'em. We agree with you.
And then Dylan here says, good morning, OTF family. It's good to catch a show live. I'm checking in from Nashville, flying to Canada later today. I'll be wearing my burnt orange all weekend long.
If you're going to an Edmonton Oilers game, I'm very jealous.
Edmonton Oilers?
Yeah, he's flying to Canada. Hockey season's underway. Kim knows what I'm talking about.
It could be like the Montreal Canadiens.
Nah, I know that, but I'm hoping it's Edmonton Oilers and he tells us about it.
Oh, God.
Why Edmonton?
Edmonton Oilers.
I mean, like,
I know we're in Texas OU, one of the greatest sporting events ever. Edmonton Oilers home fans last year probably impressed me more than anything I've seen in sports before.
Oh, wow.
And the NHL.
Okay, got it.
Unbelievable.
There you go. And then John Center, thank you, John. He says, good morning, OTF family. It's 8:40 a.m. and OU still sucks. See y'all tomorrow at the Cotton Bowl.
It's 8:40 now, and that's still the case, John. We talked about this with Neil Tweety. I just want to see Texas wearing the gold hat tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see, man. That's what it's going to be all about.
I want to see Sark put it on with 4 minutes to go.
And then Nate Rutz wants to know who, in y'all's opinion, will be the first Longhorn to find the end zone and who gets the first pick.
First Longhorn to find the end zone. I'll go with Trey Wisner.
Ooh. All right. So they're going to run the ball a little bit.
Like in the red zone.
I want to say this. One thing we didn't talk about with Ryan at the Oklahoman, they gave up yardage on the ground
100%.
Against Auburn.
Yes.
It wasn't just through the air. And if teams can do that against Oklahoma, that will negate their pass rush and their opportunism. And I'm wondering if Texas doesn't look to run early tomorrow as opposed to pass early to set up the run, which is what Steve Sarkisian likes to do. Is there going to be something like that we see? I'm throwing it out there because you mentioned Wisner's the first touchdown. I'm going with DeAndre Moore. DeAndre Moore is the forgotten guy in this offense. Teams they'll try to double Isaiah Bond deep and take him away. They know Matthew Golden's the guy in the red zone for Quinn. So I'm going DeAndre Moore tomorrow.
Well, based on Gabe Eckert, Oklahoma's going to try to pick on Anthony Hill. So I'll go with an Anthony Hill interception.
You just said Trey Wisner.
Touchdown. Didn't they ask for the first pick?
Oh, the first pick. Okay, gotcha. There you go. All right, I'll take Andrew Makuba for the pick. Something tells me that this game means a little bit to him as well.
Maddie M with the super chat. Thank you as always, Maddie. Maddie says, good morning, all. Quinn or Arch over Hawkins. Horns offense over OU's offense. Horns defense over OU's defense. Horns offense over OU's defense once again. Let's see here. Horns D over OU's offense. Bevo over the Land Thieves. Austin over Norman. I love our chances. 38-13. Hook 'em. OU will suck even more by dinner time on Saturday.
Matty M wears the gold hat year round.
I hope all that's the case. The one thing that we didn't touch on is special teams, Jerry.
Yeah.
That is one that it looks like Michael Kern is questionable, the Texas punter. Given that we're likely to see Ian Ratliff as the starter at punter for the Longhorns, and the backup, even the deep snapper for Texas is likely out as well, Tate Aber. So we'll see a whole different level of special teams if the Horns are forced to punt very often tomorrow.
Ian Ratliff's dad's been on this show, the chat list. We've seen him in the chat before. And I can say that if Michael Kern's out, Ian Ratliff's going to punt in the Texas-Oklahoma game, greatly surpassing his biggest game, which is a Atascocita Summer Creek in high school. So we're going to another level for Ian Saturday if he's actually punting.
And speaking of special teams, Brandon Morgan says, good morning, guys. My first favorite Texas versus OU moment is the Shipley kick return. My second is the Cameron Dicker game winner. That was Herman's best win. Of course, that Shipley kick return happened today, October 11th, back in 2008.
That was the single biggest momentum-changing play I've seen in the game in my adult years. That was just an unbelievable play when Oklahoma had it rolling offensively to start that game. And you were like, oh, is this going to be a danger zone game again? That kick return changed everything in that game.
Yeah, and the Cameron Dicker wink still may be the best facial expression ever in the game.
Yeah.
Never thought I would say that, but that was pretty awesome for a freshman kicker to line up and nail that kick. Hey, if you're just joining us, we're at Fire Wheel Golf Park out in Garland. We are here for the Texas X's Get Teed Off at OU scholarship benefit drive here that the Longhorns, Dallas, Texas X's put on each and every year. We've got a lot of stuff going on today. After this, we're at Terry Black's at 3:00 later today. We'll be there from 3 to 4 to do the live stream. Myself, Jerry, along with Rod Babers. CJ Vogel may join us and step in for a little bit. Also, we have the Bash Before the Clash. That'll be on at around 6 or 7 o'clock. We actually are not going to be broadcasting from there, but we will be talking a little Longhorn football and hanging out with folks. And then the pep rally later tonight. And then tomorrow we have a big event, a big lineup really set for everyone right now. And that is what we've got going on tomorrow at the, not at the State Fair, but everywhere around. We've got our game day with the Saturday Convo that starts with my bookie. That's going to be fun. Myself, Rod, and CJ kind of set up the day for you. And then we have the Texas tailgate at the Yingling tent there in the State Fair before we'll head over to the Dallas, Texas X's tailgate at Gate 5. Then we have the Watch with Us. Aaron Hogan is going to be doing that for us at around 2:15. And then post-game live, myself, Rod Babers, and Brian Robeson, Jerry.
Yep. We'll
all be here. So it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, we're going to welcome in a guest.
I want to welcome in Doug.
Yes, go for it.
He wins the jacket award of all time. I don't know if look at this one. You got to tell people about this jacket.
Look at that. Yeah. This is a custom-made jacket. It's made. I wear it only at my Texas X's events and my Longhorn events. I do a lot of MC work, UT type stuff. That's my specialty. So, give me a call.
Hey, Doug, thank you for having us out to this. We're happy to promote the Dallas, Texas X's. What are these scholarships mean to these kids? And talk a little bit about what y'all's real mission is at the X.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that we're a 501c3, and we provide scholarships for Dallas area high school students that want to attend the University of Texas. There's various levels that they can win, but that they're very competitive. We we get so many applications on these kids that do have the financial need, and we have to go through all those applications and read them and evaluate them. It's very tough to award, who we want to give them to, because we want to be able to give them to everybody. But it's a really great cause, and these kids really appreciate it.
I love it. Tell folks also what you have, guys, coming up. The bash before the clash, then the pep rally. Explain a little bit more about the pep rally, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we got the bash before the clash, and that's coming up. That's our big Texas OU party. That's tonight. It is downtown Dallas at the AT&T Discovery District. Now, that is, if you've been to downtown Dallas and you've ever seen that gigantic 104-foot tall media wall, that is where the party is. And we're actually going to have graphics up there that were custom made for us that are going to say, Texas fight, hook 'em horns. I got some stuff with Sark and viewers up there hooking horns and saying, OU sucks. Well, Sark doesn't say that, so I don't want to get him in trouble. But anyway, so we got all that kind of stuff down there. And so the party is, you can get all the information, by the way, at DallasTexasX's.org. We still have some tickets available. We have two parties going on. We got the bash before the clash regular general admission party. It's called the Hook 'em Hangout. It's going to be outdoors on the plaza. We got a live band going on. Adult beverages will be flowing, plentiful adult beverages out there for you to consume. And then also inside, we got the VIP party. It'll be upstairs. We got some VIPs coming as well, Longhorn legends and luminaries from football, volleyball. We've also got Peyton Yeager, I think was on with you guys, and she's coming as well. She's one of our VIPs. And so we're going to have a blast. And then what we do, Bobby, what you asked me before, and that's near and dear to my heart. I'm a UT cheer alum, so I love the pep rally. I created this pep rally. This will be our third year to do it. It's called the Beat OU Pep Rally. Okay, I originally thought I might call it the Beat the Hell Out of OU Pep Rally, but it got too long. So I figured out Beat OU, that's enough, right? Or the OU Sucks Pep Rally. But no, the Beat OU Pep Rally is downtown. It's how we finish off the bash. It's like we transition, and I call it the exclamation point on the bash. And we got a stage out there. We got the UT alumni band. We got music that's gonna be pumping through there. We're gonna be doing all the Longhorn cheers and chants. Texas fight, go Horns, go! It is a blast. We had so much fun last year. We're gonna level it up this year.
By the way, for those that don't know, Doug, this is not just on camera. This guy was born with Red Bull in his veins somehow. The only person I've ever met that was born with Red Bull in them.
I get even more pumped up when I get to be on Texas football, man. I listen to you guys every day. It's so cool, man.
Doug, thank you so much, dude. And
you bet.
Y'all do a tremendous job. You and the X's just do a tremendous job up here, bringing a lot of former Longhorns together. I mean, this golf tournament, by the way, I was going to say this. Yeah. It's not just people from Dallas. I mean, I met somebody from Texarkana, from Wimberley. I mean, they're coming from all over to participate.
Yeah. And that's what we love about being the Dallas chapter is Texas OU weekend. It's ours. I mean, we're the hosts. We're the Dallas chapter. So Longhorn Nation descends on our city every year for the biggest game of the year, and we got to beat them dang Sooners.
We're going to put a gold hat on you if they win.
Yeah. I love it. You need a gold cowboy hat next year for this event.
All right, cool.
Take care, Hook 'em. Thanks so much. Doug Rice, good guy, Blake.
For sure, guys. All right, Jerry, bust out the Goodrs. It's time for you to shine and let everyone out there know about Goodr.
First off, apologies for forgetting them to start the show. So much going on here. I forgot that the Goodrs, and they're very important. By the way, I see some Goodrs here on the golf course today. Guaranteed. Now they'll have the UT Goodrs. They're sold out, but more on the way. But look, why Goodr? Stylish sunnies starting at $25 a pair. No slip, no bounce, all polarized, all fun. 1-year warranty, I have to say. You don't need it. 30-day money back returns. You don't need that either. Check them out. Here you go. There's 3 new high-performance styles. I want to talk about the Bug Jeep because, look, I like to cycle. I like to ride the bike a little bit. Aerodynamic wraparound shades for next-level performance. These buzzworthy active shades shade trendy oval-shaped lenses and come packed with high-performance features. Aerodynamic dual lens frames. If you want to support the show and try a pair, Goodr is giving On Texas football listeners free shipping. You can go to goodr.com/OnTexas. Use code OnTexas for free shipping. Goodr offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, which you don't need. I just have to say it. And 100% satisfaction, I guarantee that. Again, goodr.com/OnTexas, all caps for 20% off.
All right, guys, Ramont Taylor, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you guys?
We're doing great, bud. One of the guys that has scored a touchdown in this game, by the way.
Yes.
Are you not? Yeah, yeah, I remember the catch over the top of the OU defense in the back right of that end zone, bud.
Yes, sir. One of the first touchdowns in 6 years, receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That's awesome. That's awesome.
I think I speak for everybody in the chat. I have the main question. Can you still roll out of bed and run a 4.4? That's a yes, by the way. He doesn't want
to be too arrogant, but
he doesn't want to be too arrogant. But the answer is yes.
I think I'm gonna go 4.5.
Good 4.5
at 40.
4.5 at 40.
Raymond,
sitting to his right. We are not 4.5s.
No, I'm a 4.5 10. Okay. Yeah, it takes me a while to get going. Raymond, you're tell folks what you're up to nowadays and what you're doing.
So I just got through coaching for 15 years, 16 years. I put that to the side for a little bit, started up a construction company, got into the sports management. I run my own youth association right now. So I'm just giving back to my community, hanging out with the kids and teaching my sons the game of football.
Sons, you have, how many do you have?
I have 4 sons.
Oh, wow.
What ages?
So I have 2 10-year-olds, an 8-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
2 10-year-olds?
Yes, sir.
Athletes?
They're definitely athletes.
Well, I'm putting them on my list. What year will that be? That will be 2033.
So I have 2031, 2032, 2033.
Okay. What is your memories from this Texas-Oklahoma game?
Just the camaraderie between the teams, the teammates, Coach Brown, the leadership we have from Vince Young, just the brotherhood that we have. Going throughout the whole season, actually leading up from the first season against Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and then going into the next season, just the brotherhood that we shared and how we hold each other accountable for each and every mistake that we made. Those are the memories that I cherish a lot from that season.
I've got to say this. Your team is very similar to this Texas offense in one way. So much speed on the field, whether it was you, Jamal, y'all had a lot of speed on the field at various positions.
Right.
This team has a lot of firepower similar to that. Now, they don't have the running quarterback, right?
Right.
But they do have the skill position guys that are similar to y'all.
And that's a good thing because nowadays, speed kills, and with having a team with a great athletes, you can throw the ball to the Bond kid one time behind the line of scrimmage 2 yards, he's going to take it 98 yards, So with having those type of athletes and having majority of those type of athletes on your team, on your offense, the sky's the limit for a squad like that.
Obviously, you got the national championship ring. You scored a touchdown in the national championship game. How fun would it have been for you to play in Sark's offense, though?
That would have been a lot of fun because I know Coach Sark would have probably gave me the ball at least 10 to 20 times a game, and 10 to 20 times, that's probably would have been 5 to 6 touchdowns with my caliber athletic system that God blessed me.
Somebody's asking in the chat, do you see any similarities between you and any player at Texas right now?
I would have to go with Vaughn, the 7 kid. He's probably the closest thing to me that I've seen in a long time to Texas football. But other than that, it's some guys I think that have the potential, like the kid from DeSoto, the Cook kid.
Yeah,
he has the potential, but right now the Bond kid is the kid I would kind of put in there.
I would agree.
All right, Ramont, you have a score prediction for us for tomorrow?
100-0's already been taken.
Let's go 44-27 Texas.
I like it.
We dropping 44 on the Sooners would feel good, man. Yeah. That would feel good.
Well, Ewers got to get his leg back from last year, letting him come back like that. 32 seconds, 28 seconds left in the game, and we give up a touchdown to give up the golden hat. We got to get our leg back.
Ramont, thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
You
Appreciate you, buddy. Take care of yourself. Welcome. All right, have a good one. He's going to go play some golf. I saw him bring his clubs in, Jerry. I don't know if you saw that. He's playing golf now. He's old. He's not running
4-5.
He's playing the
4-5. 4-5.
4-5 in a golf cart now.
45 yards.
Yeah.
Oh man, good stuff, guys. We got some more questions, some more super chats that we need to get to this morning. I want to go back to recruiting. Yesterday, Texas obviously got Dalen McCutcheon. And Jeff wants to know, with that flip, do y'all think this weakens or strengthens our chance with Javion Hilson, since he now has 2 former FSU commits flipping to Texas?
I don't think McCutcheon has anything to do with Hilson. I think Myron Charles, that Florida kid, they talk a lot. Both were committed to FSU. Obviously, both have backed out on that. Charles in the Texas class. They talk often. I get where you're going with the question, but I don't think McCutcheon had anything to do with Javion Hilson. He was decommitted long before that. I think Texas is the favorite for Hilson. He's going to other schools, and he's scheduled to be at Georgia. We'll have to see him and Myron Charles. Do they get into Austin next weekend after Hurricane Milton went through? There's a lot of damage in their areas where they live. I think as of right now, they're both scheduled to be in, but we'll have to see if they both make it in. But I think the thing with Hilson is PK, Kenny Baker's very involved in that recruitment. Mom, I'll never forget when I was at Bergstrom Airport, and the mom was like, I'd like him to get out of state for college. I've always kept that in the back of my mind. So we'll see what happens. I like Texas' chances right now. Things can always change in recruiting.
So, Jerry, one of the questions that we've gotten a lot in the chat is Texas done at wide receiver recruiting?
I wouldn't say 100% done, but I think it would take a unexpected flip. Otherwise, I think they'll go to the portal for a really speed type of guy.
Yeah, they need to add a speed guy, given that Isaiah Bond's likely gone.
Yeah,
that much is clear, because that speed component for Steve Sarkisian, man, he knows how to utilize it.
Yeah.
I mean, he really, really does. That's one of the things I'm counting on for tomorrow. I want to see how he gets Texas speed, whether it's Jaden Blue or Isaiah Bond, out into space and kind of creates that opportunity against an OU defense that is well coached.
Yeah.
They really are, and they'll be on top of it. So I'm interested and intrigued to see what Sark has in store.
Okay, guys, before we move on, I need to tell everybody out there about the good folks at HelloFresh. And with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And it's simple. HelloFresh delivers all the pre-portioned ingredients you'll need to make homemade meals. All the proteins, all the veggies, the sauces, the spices, and everything else in between arrives in your box, along with easy instructions that walk you through each step in the cooking process. You can't mess it up. You'll have a great tasting meal in absolutely no time. You'll love it. Whoever you're cooking for will love it. You can't go wrong with them. And that's what I love about it. It's simple. It's quick. It saves time. And here's the best part. They're going to hook y'all up with free food. That's right. Free food. You can get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free-on-Texas. Those meals will be applied across 7 boxes. It's for new subscribers only, and it varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free-on-Texas. That's HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And let's jump right back into it. Jeff wants to know if y'all have any updates on the NLI situation, what that means for recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things. NLI is going away, but it's being replaced by something very similar, just going to be called different. The couple of things that we're being told right now is that the same dates will be used this year. No change in that. So it's going to be the first, or was it the 9th, December 9th?
December 4th.
December 4th. So same signing day and all that stuff. They're just going to replace the NLI component and make it a grant and aid component directly with the universities. And once that is done, we're being told that there is going to be a no tampering
That's
type
the
of
big
policy.
part.
Yeah.
That's the big part. I spoke with a college basketball coach last night on this subject. And that's the real big one right now is, in a lot of other sports, when you commit elsewhere, this colleges kind of leave you alone, right? Leave the prospect alone. That is really the key part here. Once you sign your grant and aid, you're off limits for other schools to recruit. And I do think that's a positive in recruiting.
I just don't think they're going to be able to manage that.
It's going to be tough.
I mean, you're gonna have agents reaching out to coaches, and so are coaches talking to the individual players? No, they're not. I just think that's going to be really difficult for them to manage. That's where it's come in college football, and I think you're trying to legislate something that may not need to be legislated there.
Yeah.
I mean, even though you hate to see it, I don't think you can corral it like that. I don't know if you can.
Well, what it does, we're headed to contracts, is what we're headed to.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's done.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, that there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I mean, but you have to get a collective bargaining agreement to get there. And so that's my take on it. Is let's remove all the kind of Byzantine rules that people come up with and just get straight to contracts.
That's
and
it. Then once a kid signs through his agent, his recruitment's officially over.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to
but this is the next step in that happening, right, Bobby?
yes. Yeah, I think
that's
so.
where we're headed.
And our next question comes from Max here. Max, thank you for the super chat. And he wants to know, are there any actually elite offenses in college football this year? There's no 2019 LSU or 2020 Bama. If we don't lose CJ Baxter, could it be us? Your
I
thoughts?
can safely say this, and I've thought about it every Texas game. If CJ Baxter had not got injured, Texas would have been a extremely elite offense based on what we've seen this year. No question.
I'm not so sure Texas isn't the best offense in college football. I mean, I'm not saying – I don't know. I don't know if there is an elite offense in college football, but I sit there and watch Vanderbilt put 40 up on Alabama. I watched Texas put 30-plus up on Michigan in the first three quarters. I don't know. I'm not in this category where I don't think Texas can't be an elite offense or is the elite offense. Like Miami, they're playing a lot of teams that are okay. Cam Ward's a tremendous quarterback, but he gives the ball away too much. They're not an elite offense because, like it or not, Cam Ward turns it over too much.
No doubt.
So maybe Ohio State is if Will Howard turns it around. I think that's the only other one that I would put in the same category with Texas right now is Ohio State. I don't think Miami is. I don't think Ole Miss is because Ole Miss's quarterback's just not as good as Quinn or Arch, in my opinion. So you look for the teams with the best quarterbacks and the best systems. I think that's Texas right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the best offensive line. Like you could sit there and say Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and those receivers are really good, and they are. That their offensive line is still mediocre.
Well, let's flip over to the
Roger
other side
G
of the
asked,
ball.
follow up real quick, Blake.
Yeah.
Does CJ Baxter start next year at running back one? If he's 95% of what he was, yes. Hey, look, I'm just telling people in the building, they were comparing him to Edger and James. That's what they thought of him. Not what that's necessarily fan base thinks of him. That's what they were thinking inside the building.
High praise.
Not saying they're right.
To the other side of the football, guys. Zeke wants to know. He says, "Hey guys, love what you do. You make the work mornings a joy. How much do you think PK has been holding back for this game?"
Texas has not blitzed much at all this season. Will they, against a running quarterback, blitz and possibly open up holes for Michael Hawkins to escape through? Do they need to blitz is a better question, right? Maybe they don't, given OU's offensive line. I definitely think he's held back. Texas hasn't been challenged on defense all year, in my opinion. I mean, what are the 5 games, and they've allowed, 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns? They haven't been challenged. So I do think they've held stuff back, including Johnny Nansen as well, not just PK. Because Johnny Nansen comes with some exotic stuff, or at least he did at Arizona. So I feel like they absolutely have. held up.
And then our next super chat comes from Major Alexander. And Major, of course, going back to when we had Ryan on a little bit ago, but he says 47-13 Texas. That reporter was being optimistic. Call him a homer even.
Oh boy, I don't know if he'll be a homer. If you're picking Texas and you're in Oklahoma right now, you're not a homer.
Yeah.
Those are fighting words for sure.
And then Tub in Texas says OU is the Linda Lovelace of college football.
Okay.
We won't get into that one too much.
I don't.
Not today, guys. Not
I
today.
don't. I will say this: there are young people in this chat who have no clue who Linda Lovelace is.
Don't Google it if you're at work.
Don't Google.
If you Google it on your phone off the work Wi-Fi.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it from your office today.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way.
Oh man! And then Scott here, he says, "Why is Bert Auburn not mentioned when discussing the punting responsibility?"
Because he hasn't done it. It's possible that he ends up being the guy, but from what we've been told, Ian Ratliff is expected to be that guy. Now, do they roll out Bert Auburn if it's a pooch punt? That may be a little different, but he has not had that duty before, and he didn't even work out at punter, by the way, in fall camp. Now maybe they've had him working out there this week, but as of fall camp, he was not even doing any of that at all.
I don't see that at all. He is a kicker, and that's what he is. I think Texas is comfortable with Ian Ratliff as their number 2 punter.
And CC6 fan club president, I think this was around the time that Ramont Taylor was on here, so my apologies, or I would have put it up on the chat there. But CC says that he worked with Ramont's mom at Nextel back then, so very cool connection there. And Jerry's Jack Links, thank you as always. He says, my next door neighbor is a Sooner, and as soon as we get this win, I'm planting my UT flag in his yard.
Go for it.
Take a picture.
Yeah, take a picture and send it in.
Yeah.
On TexasFootball@gmail.com. Please send it.
Get it up. Oh man. And then Jeff Carey, he says, gentlemen, how good is the OU offensive line?
I don't think that any OU fan would use the term or the adjective good to describe their offensive line right now. That's how bad it is. Now, they are hopeful that they're starting to get some continuity there because they've now had the same starters for a couple games in a row. And Ryan Aber even talked about them protecting better in the second half against Auburn. So maybe they've gathered something or grown a little bit. But Texas should be better up front against the Texas defensive line should be better than the OU offensive line. If we don't see that, I'll be surprised.
I'm going to go in the golf terms since we're at the tournament. They've had a lot of bogeys this year and a few doubles and maybe some out of bounds and a few quads, triples. They're going to need a few birdies Saturday, and they hadn't made many this year on the offensive line.
Snowman.
I'm putting it in the golf terms right now. Bill Bedenbaugh has had too many squares on his golf scorecard, not any circles this year.
Is this the biggest or the worst OU offensive line you've seen in the last 10 years?
Yes, absolutely.
Theoretically.
Yeah, I think they are. And it's not just due to injury. It's hard to go replace an entire offensive line in the portal.
Yeah.
They have to develop on the high school level. That's just not going to work year in and year out. It's just there's no chance. You have to develop those guys at least 2 years out of the portal. And then you have to be developing your high school guys behind it. You can't replace an entire offensive line out of the portal and think there's going to be continuity. Because you're not getting you're not getting the Alabama starting offensive lineman and Georgia starting offensive lineman, 2 of those guys each to transfer in and play for you. You're not getting guys that are going to be first and second round picks. Now, Guyton was, but that was more of a developmental thing.
Yeah, he didn't just go transfer 1 year from TCU
right
and end up. He actually went as a redshirt freshman. Right?
Bedenbaugh's a very good coach. He's not a miracle worker. Very few guys are.
Hey, Blake, I need to say thank you to our friends over at Duck Camp. Duck Camp gear is made for the people that live for the moments out there where there are fish to catch, birds to hunt, time to kill, football to watch. They like doing all that stuff at Duck Camp, so they built a company centered on it, based in Austin and dedicated to giving people best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel. There are those of you out there that look forward to the opening day of hunting season and the kickoff of Longhorn football with the fervor and excitement of a 5-year-old on Christmas morning. Duck Camp is here to let you know that from opening day to game day, they've got you covered at Duck Camp. They believe you can't just sit around and wait for adventure to come to you. You have to get out there, stay out there, and make the most of every second. Here's to great seasons, y'all. Yes, hunting and football. Shop hunting gear at duckcamp.com. I want to add this. Against Georgia, Duck Camp's going to be out there working with us at the tailgate, giving away a $200 gift certificate yet again to one lucky person who's out there.
It's awesome. Great sponsor. Thank you very much, Duck Camp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Neil Tweety just announced at the golf tournament and Ramont's.
Yeah, and Ramont.
By the way, for those that haven't seen Ramont's, the calves still look like they can run 4.4. You never lose that look, guys.
You should race him.
You may get the dad bod up top, but you never lose that look down there. Fast guys always look fast.
For those that never had it, like me, I understand it.
That's what we're looking for in our job, Bobby, not when we look in the mirror.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Forrest Eldridge with the super chat says, do you think we're able to get pressure with only our front four? That is critical versus mobile QBs, in his opinion.
I think that's a big part of this, Bobby, and that's the big part for the Oklahoma offensive line. Can they protect enough to make Texas bring numbers? They haven't been able to this season to this point. There's going to be some matchups Texas likes. I think left guard is what the matchup Texas will like. And we'll see what the right tackle it looks like in this game. Or against Colin Simmons is a tough matchup for anybody. But that's going to be the whole key. Because then Texas can play whatever type of coverage they want in the back end and at linebacker.
I would add this. The other thing that we need to be aware of, at least at this point, Jerry, when we're talking about that defensive front, is Texas doesn't. They need the four to get pressure, but they also need to hem him into the pocket. The most dangerous Michael Hawkins will not be from the pocket.
Yeah,
it will be when he escapes the pocket.
Yeah,
and can really rely on more backyard football instincts. He's only a true freshman. Remember that. He's not going to hit a lot of predetermined reads coming out of an offensive system. It's going to be him out and about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's one thing that when you talk about the front four pass rush for, it's also not just creating pressure, it's hemming him in.
It's gap integrity.
Yeah.
It's a big gap integrity game.
Yeah, Brian Robison talked about that, and I completely agree.
And we have another super chat. This one from Derek Best. Thank you, Derek. He says, question for Bobby and Jerry. How did both of you get into recruiting? And what's everyone's confidence levels? Keep up the great work. I love listening to you guys. Look up.
I had no choice but to get into recruiting. My dad was a high school coach. So when your dad's a coach, you start following where the players that he coaches are going to college. My dad was at Dobie. Trevor Cobb, for instance. Craig Stevens went to Baylor. Robert Glantz was a fullback at Nebraska on some of those pretty good teams. You know, dating all the way back when my dad was at Nacogdoches, Mark Moore came out of there, was an All-American, a hammer safety at Oklahoma State. So as a kid, I'm roaming the sidelines as the ball boy. And then I look at who the team's playing my dad's coaching. And then I start looking at those guys and where they go to college. And then that leads you to the top 100 in the Dallas Morning News or Houston Chronicle when you're a kid. That's how I started following it. Then my dad's scouting the Friday games, and I see Casey Hampton for the first time when he's a sophomore. I'm like, wow, that's a little different. And that I think Casey Hampton actually may have got me kick-started a little bit because I was like, that's a little different than anything I've ever seen.
That's good stuff. I started back when I was, a youth. Like, I don't know why, but we used to go on these family vacations. My mom and dad would take us on them. and I would buy all of the and they would be car trips. So we'd drive to Colorado, or we'd drive to California, or up to, one time we went to Niagara Falls. And I was an only child, and so I would be in the back of the car, and I would literally read college football magazines from front to back. And usually in the very back, there was this section on recruiting. And so I got very into recruiting. And I remember one time there was an Eric Dickerson commentary, and they compared him to different runners and all this other stuff. And anyways, long story short, fast forward into December and January, there used to be daily articles about recruiting in the Houston Chronicle and Houston Post. And I just happened to live 2 streets down from a 7-Eleven. My parents took the Houston Post, and I'd go buy the Houston Chronicle for 5 cents or 10 cents, whatever it was, just to see if there was recruiting information there. I was a big sports fan all the way, played sports growing up, etc., and just became a great sports fan. At that time, I was into recruiting, and I worked for the University of Texas. When I enrolled at the University of Texas, started working for the football team there. And one of the things that they had me do was tape all the practices and games at the university. And then one year I started doing the video cut-ups for recruits. So this is, here's I'm trying to, Zach Thomas was a guy that I cut up his film on. There's I'm just trying to think of all the different, Butch Hadnot, I cut up his film when he was coming into the University of Texas. So I did all of that, and then I just got kind of into that and thought I wanted to do it for a living, and worked at the University of Houston for 1 semester, or for 2 semesters, as a graduate assistant, volunteer assistant in the recruiting department, and done it for then on. I knew I was bitten by the bug. I'll just put it that way, because it is a labor of love for me.
I want to also say that, like, the commitments and the news, that's not the fun part for me. The trip I just took through Georgia and down into Florida, the fun part. I remember I was texting Bobby or the group, and I was like, just went through Herschel Walker's hometown, which is not a place many people go through in Georgia. Then the Horace and Harvey Grant's hometown, small little town in Georgia. All these places it's taken me are so much fun, because I get out the wiki page and I see who's come through. Could be an Olympian, could be an NBA player, NFL player. It's just amazing how many of the small towns in this country have produced great athletes. At least one almost everywhere I've ever been.
I've been to so many small towns in the state of Texas. I remember going to Tatum, Texas, and they had 2 NFL caliber players at Tatum, Texas one time, and it's a little small dot in East Texas, but just tremendous. You're right. I collected baseball cards when I grew up. When I was growing up, Jerry, and one of my favorite places I've ever been, I collected a couple different guys, Pete Rose and Lou Brock. Those were like my guys. And I'm in northern Louisiana one time.
Yeah.
And I'm going, and I'm all over the map. I'm going to see guys like Anthony Thomas. Booger McFarland was on that trip. Troy Edwards, who played at Louisiana Tech, was a first-round draft pick. Talance Sawyer, all these guys that played in the NFL on one trip, to your point. And I'm just driving around, and they tell me, hey, you need to go to this place called May Rouge, Louisiana. There's a player there that won the 100. It's a 1A school, but he won the Class A 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meter, and long jump in the state meet.
He took it all.
I'm like, yeah, I probably need to go see this guy. He's 6'4", too, by the way. And so I go there and I see him, and he's a good prospect, but he prop 48 back then, casualty. But I go there, and guess what? It's in the middle of a cotton field. Literally, it's 2-story white building. It's the hometown of Lou Brock, and there is a mural of Lou Brock in the sports gymnasium. It's just, I was like, that was to your point about going and seeing things like that.
Yeah,
that's part of the fun part of this job.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I was busy in the chat there. Sorry about that. We got a few more here. Jeff Carey says, Jerry, Will you be my life coach?
You don't want that.
Man,
You do not
No.
want that, Jeff. Be careful what you
that's
wish
not
for.
what it's advertised to be.
That is not something you want.
In
brother.
fact, I need one. I need to put in a super chat.
I was going to say.
And then Jackson says it's a different kind of joy being a Colts fan, buying a Manning jersey from my alma mater.
I love it. I love it.
Very cool there, Jackson. And then, Bobby, before we get to this last question or two, let everybody know about BKCW one last time, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Our friends at BKCW have been great to us over the last year. They are the business insurance of choice if you're in Austin or surrounding areas and want to take your business to the next level. They take you out of the insurance trap by providing you with actual risk management consulting. They're not just order takers. They try to help you save money with your business insurance. Operating out of their headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, they use a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so they can actually help you save money and effectively manage your company's risks and employee benefits. Get started with a free risk assessment today at bkcw.com or send them an email to info@bkcw.com to get started and get the support that you deserve. Give them a call, 512-250-5055.
I got to bring up this question.
Yeah.
It deserves a mention. Peyton Houston, 2027 quarterback from Shreveport Evangel, who Texas has offered. One of the two they've offered. Brady Edmonds out of Huntington Beach, the other. I think both will be at the Georgia game. Threw for 800 and rushed for 100 last night in the high school game.
What?
Yeah. Y'all can read all about that one. Somebody sent me that during the
He
show.
threw for 800 yards in a single game?
And ran for 100.
Holy
What was
crap.
the final score?
I think it was 80s to 50s.
Whoa. So he wasn't just putting stats up. He had to keep scoring so they would win.
That's unbelievable. Somebody asked in the chat. I think we jammed up here a little bit. Somebody asked in the chat about Michael Terry with the Dalen McCutcheon commitment.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that affects Michael Terry at all in Texas.
Thank you for answering that because I had starred that.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you that because I got asked that on ontexasfootball.com today too. But I can't believe 800 yards and
And
I
they
can't
still
wait to see
lost.
the huddle highlights. It's going to take an
they lost.
They still lost. Apparently.
No, no way.
Yeah.
What was the score?
I'm
I
reading
lost
it
my
right now.
connection.
They lost 77-76.
How'd you like to go for 800 and 100 and lose?
What was the final score?
77-76.
Wow.
And he's a right-hander out of Shreveport Evangel Christian.
Yeah.
He's been on campus before. He's also been to OU, by the way. I know the Sooners are hopeful there as well. So interesting. Peyton Houston.
Man,
I wonder who. There's no doubt who he's named after, by the way.
Peyton Yeager.
No. 767.
767.
Yeah, that's the second most in history, nation's history. The most was 787. So he was 20 yards short. That happened in 2015 from Pennsylvania quarterback Matt Miller.
Wow, that is crazy.
That is crazy. And the lose is what really just blows my mind. That's the way the cookie crumbles. All right, guys, last question for today. King Me, who could leave the Cotton Bowl as a legend?
Who do you think, Jerry?
I didn't hear. I lost my connection.
Who could leave the Cotton Bowl as a legend today or tomorrow? Who could be wearing that golden hat, just grinning ear to ear?
Colin Simmons.
Oh, interesting.
Nice.
Anthony Hill for Texas. I don't want to say the other side.
I'm not saying the other side. I'm going to say Isaiah Bond. He may be the hard one for them to match up with because OU loves – here's the reality with OU. They love to run fit their safeties as much or more than anybody.
Yeah.
That's one thing that Brent Venables loves to do. And if they do that against Isaiah Bond, that's not a recipe for success for them if Texas can force them to be that. I'm gonna go with Isaiah Bond. That's gonna be my player of the game for tomorrow, along with Quinn Ewers.
Good stuff. All right, Bobby, it is an action-packed weekend. I know you went over it at the beginning of the show, but we're at nearly 4,500 people watching. So tell everybody one last time what you have going on this weekend and where they can catch you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going at today. Me and Jerry will be at Terry Black's Barbecue from 3 to 4. Come out, hang out with us. We'll be out there. Aaron Hogan will be there with the radio show as well. And then also tonight, we're going to be at the Bash Before the Clash, as well as the pep rally that Dallas, Texas Exes puts on. Make sure you join us out there. Then tomorrow, we've got a full day of videos and notes and news before we get going. It starts at 7 a.m. With the Saturday conversation. Myself, CJ Vogel, as well as Rod Babers, break down the Texas OU game one final time. And then we have the Texas Tailgate live from the Yingling flight tent inside the fairgrounds from 10:30 to 11. Then we're going to all go over to the Dallas, Texas Exes tailgate. That's at gate 5, by the way. And then we have the Watch With Us. Jerry, you, and Aaron will be doing that. Then we have the post-game live. Brian Robeson joins Rod Babers and myself. We appreciate all of our sponsors and everybody helping us get together. This is a tremendous event here that we're at right now, Jerry. The people have just now left for the golf course, and it has gotten extremely quiet by comparison. Literally 250-plus golfers, Longhorns, all of them, out on the course right now at Firewheel Golf Park here in Garland.
So cool to see Neil Tweety and Ramont over there just kind of
they're cutting it up right now.
Cutting it up. National champs. Neil Tweety he will always be part of a national champion at Texas and part of the best recruiting class that Texas has ever signed. We'll see if anything can eclipse it. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it will be.
All right, everybody, have a great and safe weekend. Be sure to head on over to ontexasfootball.com if you haven't already. Sign up, become an OTF OG. You'll get a full year of access for just $39.95. And then also, please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. We appreciate your support. Ring the bell so you're notified anytime that we go live or post a video. And between that, on TexasFootball.com, we have you covered. We will be back Monday morning. So until then, for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em.